All right, it is 6 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a regular school board meeting of the Tri-C United School Board. Tonight is Monday, February 10th, 2020, and we are located at the TCU High School Media Center. Roll call finds all present this evening. And next, we'll move on to the administrative report.
Great. Thank you. Well, members of our community school board, as I do each month, I do just share a few of the highlights that have been reported, and do encourage everyone to read through all of the reports from our sites and departments. At TCU Montgomery, a couple of highlights I want to hit here is one, with AVID, doing some presentations to 6th grade classes to help share information about that as we consider AVID into the 7th grade. But one that I really want to highlight here is on February 20th. They're going to be having a family night, and including and inviting 6th grade students from both Montgomery and from Lonsdale to the event, so that they are able to come and have a short presentation that includes some common questions that come along with moving into 7th grade, a little video introducing our 7th and 8th grade teachers, and also then being able to have a tour of the building, which is something that we've talked about for quite a while to do, and wonderful to see this transition happening for our students and for our families. That's great. Within our community education, it's weird having it right here in front of me. My glasses need them, and sometimes they don't. Within our system structures and a culture of excellence in communications, Anna's been working a lot on our website update. She's been working on that continuously, but really hit this hard. As we know, with having principal position, superintendent position opening, well, our website will get a lot of hits, and we want to make sure that everything is really clean and easy to find. And also then, of course, the ongoing ADA compliance of the websites, and making sure that we are meeting all of the needs with Americans with Disabilities Act. Within our community education with Mr. Wilbright, one of the things that we wanted to share is our first ever Little Titans open house and registration night, which was last Monday, February 3rd. It was a big success. They had one in each of our communities. Had 85 applications come in that evening, which is great. And even, as Lane shared, a few of those even for requests and interest in wanting to register yet this year for both RAP and for preschool. So that was wonderful to see. They had a good turnout, had great representation, transportation, scholarship opportunities, all of that was being shared. Within our business office, of course it is budgeting time of year, but I do want to continue to share about the deep work that Mrs. Rozier and Mrs. Kopp have been doing within our JMC and TCU parent portal. We've really found that to be much more conducive for our families, especially since we moved to online enrollment, but also online registration, which is an annual review rather than printing out everybody's piece of paper and reviewing it. It's done online. We've also been working with our transportation team this last week with a meeting on how we can incorporate the transportation bus registration within that process. So we're exploring that possibility as well. From our special services, to hit that, Ms. Spessert, along with Ms. Kopp, Mr. Mink, Mr. Wilbright, and Mr. Johnson have been having some outdoor facility meetings, and one of the topics has been playgrounds. And as you know, within the expansion at TCU Lonsdale to pre-K through grade 6, and our playground equipment there is still from the K-4 days, so that's an area to be taking a look at, as well as TCU Montgomery with the preschool area, which was something that was talked about within the bond referendum. And then we also have some equipment there that is tremendously failing and behind, and we need to get all of our sites on some rotational basis there. At TCU Lonsdale, I'm going to hit down here towards the bottom, an area with kindergarten roundup starting up already on February 25th. I know they've done a great deal of work on really making that an evening that is really welcoming and calm and joyful for our families and our students, and really informative as well, which is so important. And then TCU Montgomery will be on March 3rd, and TCU La Center will be on March 10th. At TCU La Center, hitting a couple of areas, one of them being, February is considered Black History Month, but the importance of doing some projects and work to not only educate, but as Mr. Grensteiner writes, stretching our thinking and awareness. They're also going to continue in other months, really taking a look and deeply learning within a variety of race, ethnicity groups, and cultures. And then the other aspect is our common practice within AVID of organization, the O of Wicker, which is always important. Some of that's going to be shared already tomorrow night at parent-teacher conferences. And at our high school, really the report is happening right now. We have a registration and parent-teacher conferences happening, as at our last meetings where Mr. Fitter shared about some of the pathway work within our registration course guide. They did end up being able to put together 14 career pathways and sharing that within the course guide. Great work by Mr. Eppen and our CTE department in putting that together. And if you take a walk through the hallways, you'll see some of those pathways really valuable. And also then tonight is Expo of Courses, Colleges, and Careers. Again, another aspect to really live our profile of a graduate work and our focus on career, college, and life readiness. And Ms. Odland, our workforce development coordinator, has really been imperative in being able to not only bring in some of the post-secondary institutions, but also then some career opportunities for our students. So great night, lots happening, and a lot of fun to go around and just take a look. So thank you to our directors and principals for those reports.
All right, I'm going to seek a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
A motion by Ashley Recevo, second by Krista Gettle to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is passed 7-0. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have the approval of the minutes of our, what was it, January
Yes.
13th regular school board meeting? And then a special meeting of January 27th. Sorry, it wasn't written on my agenda here. Under personnel, we have new hires: Teresa Collins, long-term sub English language instructor in Montgomery; Madison Bunnell, a head softball coach; Sara Ruiz, a junior high track coach. Under employment ending, we have Sara Risto, a school readiness, reduction of hours; Kathy Skluzacek, paraprofessional at Montgomery; and Jennifer Philipp, cheerleading coach. We have a leave of absence of Diane Tiede. She's our 7th, 8th grade math teacher in Lee Center. Approval of the bills in the amount of $634,894.92, and also our finance report. I'll seek a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Kevin Huber, second by Josh Belkey to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is passed 7-0. Next is our open forum, and I do not believe we've had any requests for tonight. Next, we'll move on to our TCU Titan Pride Awards.
You're welcome in.
Thank you, everyone. It's a pretty exciting week this week with our Friendship Adventure and our Special Olympic programs.
There's nothing in your music library.
All right.
You gotta get
Even got everything off, and
Gotta
still,
get some tools.
yeah, that's in my music library. I should have played something. I apologize for that.
That was
fault, huh?
awesome.
All right. So anyway, before we get to these Titan Awards for our athletes that are in attendance, it's a busy week for us. Tonight we actually have a Valentine's cooking class going on at TCU La Center in the fax room. We have 14 participants. And Wednesday we have our swimming starting, and we have 20. So those are huge numbers. So anyway, we're going to recognize some of our athletes that were able to attend today. Back in, I believe, late November, they had the opportunity to go to our state bowling competition down at the Wow Zone in Mankato, and they did very well. So I'm just going to read these off so we can recognize everyone. So for some of our athletes that are here, if they would come up and just hang out with me for a little bit, and then we're going to go shake hands with our school board and our superintendent, okay? All right, for the ones that are here, not here, Alex Myland, he had a first place for bowling in the competition. Becky Croyer, she is here, I believe. First place, TCU Titans Special Olympic State Bowling Competition.
This is fabulous. All dressed up.
There you go, Becky. Congratulations. You just want to hang here. Kevin Gonzalez, I don't believe he is here. He got a first place at the state bowling competition. Madison Raymond Herda, I don't believe she is here. Hannah Fleesek, I don't believe she is here. So Madison got a first place, Hannah got a second. Jacob Durham, he is not here, he got a second place. Austin Raymond Herda, he also got a second place, he is not here. Joshua Steenhoven is here. My man Joshua, right, third place. Nice job, buddy. There you go. Felicia? Yeah. Got a third place. Okay. Oh, you want to stay up here?
No, wait.
Julie Doyle, I don't think she is here. She got a third place. Anna Paddock, I know she is not here. She got a fourth place. And Damian Winterfeld, he also had a fourth place. So, but as you can tell, we had a huge group go down to bowling, and it was very exciting. And Melissa Bell and our volunteers took them down there. Michael Gothberg, he actually works for the St. Clair Public School. He does a fantastic job with our area and state competitions. So it's going to be great. I know we'll have some swimmers go to state. That's already in June. Going to be at St. Thomas again. So hopefully we'll get another good representation for our summer state games. So, all right. So if you guys want to come on up.
When they go through, should have them stand so that people can capture them in front of the school.
Congratulations.
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 Nice job.
Congratulations.
Nice job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, nice job.
Congratulations.
We're going to take a picture right up here. If you want to line up right here. So they need to.
Sorry.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Wilbright, for your coordination and our staff for making this happen for our kids.
All right, next under informational items, we have a presentation for the start of the year, the Child Parent Teacher Conferences. You guys want to come on up? Oh, Lane left his cell phone.
Oh, Lane?
Do you want to grab your music?
Oh, yeah. You have no requests?
You all be the drivers?
Okay, I'm just scroll down. All right. Well, good evening, and thank you, Superintendent Preisler and Board, for having us. I'm Kristen Munden. I teach second grade in Lonsdale.
I'm Katie Bartizal. I teach first grade in Montgomery.
I'm Beth Cromie. I teach first grade in Lee Center.
I'm Jenny Maxfield, and I teach Title I in Lee Center.
Brian Grinstein, Principal in the Center.
And so thank you for letting us come and present this new idea to you today involving changing the format of how we do our open house night in the fall for K-6 students. We'd like to share a presentation and have time for you to for us to share our ideas with you, and then any questions that you might have. So we kind of gave it a cool name, Bolting Back to School. An opportunity for families and educators to support each other and build quality relationships.
So currently we're using a traditional open house style, and we'd like to give you an insight as to how we think teachers, parents, and students might be feeling when they come. So as a teacher, it's often overwhelming. You might not have any families for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden 6 families might show up, and they might have several school-aged children that they need to go to several rooms that night. You can tell the parents are anxious. Kids are anxious. They kind of want to get in and get out. They've got a lot going on that night. There's a lot of parents that might have younger siblings. It tends to be a lot of people in your classroom that you're trying to have conversations with all at once. Sometimes there might be families that come that you realize they're not English speaking. Now you need to figure out how to, if there's a translator there, to try to get some help for parents in the mix of all of this. Parents are filling out paperwork. You're trying to help them. You're trying to have a conversation with the child who's going to be in your class. And as a teacher, it's just very overwhelming. You feel overwhelmed and oftentimes disappointed that you're not able to have the kind of quality conversations that you want to have with the parents or the children.
And then from a parent perspective, they might be feeling just a little overwhelmed, when they go into a classroom. And sometimes there are a lot of other parents there during the time. And they might have concerns or things that they want to talk to the parent about privately that they're not able to do at that time. And then also the forms. And then they kind of go back to the translating. If there's not a translator in there, the parent might think, I don't know what to do or where to put things. I think I'm just going to leave. We've seen that from time to time too. And then they need to go out and meet specialists. And then a lot of times when people are all there at once, there's a lot of people. And so parents, again, tend to just go ahead and leave. So.
And then the student perspective, loud, nervous, scared, excited. Where do I put my stuff? I have my crayons. Can I open my crayons? Where's my desk? Can I put it in my desk? Where's my locker? Wait, where's... So they're excited, and mom is trying to fill out this form. The 3-year-old is tugging on their mom's jacket, and sibling just wants to be in their classroom, and they see their best friend that they saw over the summer, and just all those nerves coming in. And then you have the quiet ones who are just complete, mute, don't say anything, hiding behind mom and dad, and and maybe they didn't get to meet their teacher, or they saw them but didn't really get a chance to talk to them if they were busy talking to another family. Because all the adults are talking. I like that picture. Just giving from a student perspective, and kindergartners especially. I don't know where I'm going the first day. This is my first time being at school if they weren't in preschool with our preschool program. So that's the traditional style of open house. So what do we know about building relationships? So we know as Tri-City United, we've been working really hard on building relationships with our students, parents, families, and just making them feel welcome in our school, welcome in our classrooms. And we know a key element for student success. Robert Marzano is a well-known educational researcher who helped establish this framework for educators to support the rigorous learning that we do. So one of the top indicators of student learning is creating a strong relationship between teacher and student. And during that traditional open house, we don't always get that with parents and with students. So that is kind of why we need to set a good foundation for trust with them.
So we know that you guys have been working really hard, listening to families and students and their concerns, and setting some goals and missions for what they want to be when they graduate, for what parents want for their children when they graduate. And you created this awesome profile of a graduate. And we really feel like this open house format ties right into some of those components. When we look at that, we look at the communication and collaboration piece. This model, the communication, collaboration, respect, and integrity are all skills that parents have said are essential for their children to have to be successful outside of high school. So then it's our job as educators to respond to that, to make sure that we're serving them and giving them what they need and what they're asking for, so that their students can build those skills. This format for open house models how teachers can communicate, how teachers can work collaboratively with families, respect the backgrounds of our students, and treat others with integrity. Also in that communication and collaboration section, when we meet with families and we listen we set a foundation for teamwork, that this work can't be done alone. It can't be done at home. It can't be done at school. It's a together process. And we're going to build that bridge from day one, build a mentality that families know that we respect them and we care for them and their child's best interest. On that respect and integrity component of the profile of a graduate, we know that it shows the families that we value and respect, that they are their child's first teacher, that they have valuable input and things that could take us months to figure out about their child when they could just sit down in 5 minutes and give us valuable information. We hear from families about their child's background and experiences, about their culture, their family life, things that are concerning to them that they need to share with us in a private kind of setting, but that are important for us to know.
All right, so here's what we're proposing. Bolting back to school, a new way of thinking. So first, family would meet with the teacher. They would discuss medical concerns, family dynamics, and any other changes that maybe happened over the summer privately. And it would be a time for parents to help the teacher get to know the child and family better. Next, the parents are going to go in the hallway to fill out paperwork. If needed, a translator will already be with the parents to help with this. While the parents are out in the hallway filling out the paperwork, the teachers in the classroom getting to know the child as a reader, one-on-one. This gift of time will help teachers better support students earlier in the school year. And then last is that building connections piece. So now that they have completed the classroom portion and they are done with forms and they have made connections with their teachers, they can now go and get their picture taken, meet the nurse, counselors, art, special ed, ELL, title, gifted and talented technology, and music teachers. They can also pay for planners, lunch, etc. during this time without there being a rush of people. So, and then again, this is just going back to that profile of graduate by setting the foundation of teamwork and the tone for the whole school year.
So just to go through some details of our proposal, it would be for K-6. Like Jenny said, it's about a 15 to 20 minute time slot. Parents would be able to go on and do online scheduling and choose a time that works for them. We would be doing it on the Tuesday and Wednesday after Labor Day, having adjusted teacher work days so that we would be able to go later into the evening for working parents. During that 15 to 20 minute chunk of time, again, the first 5 minutes would be with the teacher and the parents and the child, and we'd be able to, in a private setting, ask, what are your child's strengths? What are things that you might want to work on? Is there anything else you want to tell us about the child? The child leaves, the teacher stays, is able to get to know them as a reader. Parents are able to fill out their forms. There's no extra cost to the district for this model, and many of our surrounding districts are already using this and seeing very positive results. A lot of the administrators and teachers that we've reached out to said they would never go back to the traditional format after using this one because they've just seen such positive results, mostly for building those relationships early in the beginning of the school year. Oh, sorry. Okay. So the benefits of this model, again, now going back to in the beginning, I said in our traditional model how stressed out teachers would feel. Using this model, we would feel, instead of feeling disappointed when the parents leave, that we didn't have the opportunity to have a good conversation with them. I would think that we would feel like we've made a great connection with them. What a great way to start off the school year. I've gotten to know the parents and the child on a much better level. Having had the time to be able to sit down and listen to that child read is going to help immensely to get programming started earlier in the school year. So that's something else that as a teacher, it's just going to be a lot less stressful going into the school year, and something that I think we're all hopeful that can be put into place.
And as a parent, I would feel, it's nice to meet my child's teacher. I felt valued. We were able to get everything taken care of without feeling rushed. I was able to talk about my concerns and hopes in private about my child.
And then from the student perspective, they feel important, they get to meet their teacher, and not as a stressful environment for them, just kind of one-on-one, and maybe they've seen their teacher in the building if they're beyond a kindergarten friend. And it's also an added benefit for our 7th grade students transitioning. They would have, especially in the Montgomery and the Center buildings, they would have that to themselves the first couple of days of school to kind of ease that transition a little bit from that elementary format to that middle school format as well. So that is all we have for you guys. I'll let Sara.
So that's all right. So thank you for your time and consideration of this idea that we brought to you today. As educators for TCU, we feel honored that we have the pleasure to serve the families in our district, in all of our different schools. We also feel that as our job, we are compelled to share good ideas, things that are going to move our district and our children and our educators forward. So thank you for the opportunity to do that tonight. Most important, we want to share the idea of how building better relationships is going to help our families. We know that this format will allow TCU to keep to its mission statement. We know that it's research-based, and we know that it's going to be best for our kids. We hope your support will allow us to implement this back to school night possibly as soon as this coming fall of 2020. And we know that not only can it support our families and students, but our educators will have valuable time to build those connections and make it a great year. So thank you.
I do have one question. I do have a question.
Yeah.
So the families that maybe don't have, like, I saw that it was giving you registration online. Is there a plan for those that maybe aren't able to register online? And will that be a smooth, easy process for those folks?
Sure.
I mean, we were hoping to have computers at the school available for them, because I know most of the forms were trying to get to that digital format. I know this year was more than in the past, and so that would also give an opportunity for those who don't have that online option at home to just do the paperwork and stuff. But are you saying for signing up?
Yeah, to sign up.
To sign up. So lots of, I mean, we would make phone calls, we would send, you know, we would reach out in a different way if we didn't have
Right. So
a
I
connection.
think ideally, if we could know, even spring, that this is happening, we would want to start communicating with families. Get them the heads up that this is coming. Give them a couple mailings in the summer. Remember, remember, remember. And then we're going to, as a classroom teacher, right away in the fall, we're already going to have X amount of students signed up, and those that don't are our job to connect with.
Right.
That's the kind of what we have in our mind.
Your plans are to make this a K-6, correct? So like in both Montgomery and Lee Center, the 7th and 8th graders would be going to their regular classes those first 2 days or 3 days, whatever is decided, correct?
Yeah.
I think it's a neat concept, having gone through open houses for how many years with how many kids. It would make it a very more appealing, not only to the parent, but also to the student, I think, just to get that connection one-on-one. I think it's a great idea.
I've actually had the pleasure of teaching preschool in this kind of format where I've welcomed kids this way, and I've had parents walk out in tears because they have a special need, they have a medical concern, and they were able to tell me that because that was really heavy on their hearts and they needed me to know. And for them to have that comfort going into the school year is huge, huge. So if we can do that to support that family, it's going to only support everybody else too.
I'm just glad it's coming from teachers because it's going to be more work for you guys, but that cost benefit will be tremendous. I mean, I have 4 kiddos in school, and that open house is intense.
Yeah.
To say the least. I mean, it's you, and you see the teachers, and they try the best that they can, and they're like, "Okay, what do you need?" And you're like, Don't make me fill out these forms. Just let me take them home, and I will send them back. I promise I'll send them back in their backpack. It's so intense. So I'm glad that you guys brought it forward, and it wasn't something that you're made to do, because I think that your best will be even better. So I dig it.
like I said, I think it is a really disappointing feeling when people are leaving and you just feel badly that you haven't had the time to really get to know them, or somebody's trying to have a conversation with you that you're just thinking, I wish we were somewhere private where we could talk about this, you know, at more length in the right setting. So it's just not perfect what we've got right now, and we just thought this is a much better option.
Any other questions from the board members?
I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your work with this. Just as a follow-up aspect as to where we are with calendar as well. The Meet and Confer committee has put together some options. It's fairly limited with very late Labor Day this next year, and without the aspect of a bond referendum building projects happening, we are still held by state statute to start the Tuesday after Labor Day. We do anticipate to be bringing forward calendar to the school board as early if we can as the February work session, and do a very brief special meeting to do that approval, because we know families will be asking for it. And at that point, would ask the board's decision-making on these kinds of days, so it's reflected in that calendar as well. And realizing that the hard work that's been put in and the relationships, and as they were talking, I thought about our desired daily experiences. It certainly fits with that. We will have some families who will need to be figuring out early on for some daycare for that day. So the earlier we can make a decision, the better off that will be for them as well. So do give this some thought, talk with others, and hopefully we'll be able to just bring it as an action item at the end of the month.
All right, next we have update on art curriculum.
Would you like the?
Yes, please.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Superintendent Preisler, school board members. I'm Deb Dwyer, the principal at Tri-City United Montgomery K-8, and this is Amanda Messingbring, the art teacher of K-8 at the Montgomery building. We'd like to thank you for letting us share with you this evening about the TAB program, Teaching for Artistic Behavior, as we are making a conscious effort to focus on the daily experiences of our students and the work that we're doing with a profile of a graduate. We thought it would be a wonderful opportunity to share with you the TAB experience that our K through 8 students experience when they are in the art room. So
thank you again for having me back. 2 years ago, you guys approved the TAB style for our K through 6, and then slowly, gradually getting up to 7 through 12 as well. So things have just been progressing, and the kiddos are doing amazing work. So I'm excited to be here to share that with you and celebrate. So just a reminder, TAB is Teaching for Artistic Behavior, and it's around this main philosophy of what do artists do in the real world. The child is the artist, and the art room is their studio. So the kiddos are making their own creative choices, and I am acting as a guide and sort of a mentor within that space then. So let's see, there we go. I'm not going to read these things for you guys, but kindergarten and first grade, the main ideas is mostly just exploration, getting them to create with as much as possible and learning about as many different types of art as can be put into roughly 30 times or so seeing them throughout the year. They're focusing on learning to create their own artworks that express their own experiences, and talking about those artworks and those experiences with one another and sharing them as well. In the spring, we always have at least one art show that everyone, this last year was the first time we were able to do it with everyone having one artwork in that art show. In previous years, it was 2 per class, but we were very excited to do every single person. And then we're also invited to an art show that's usually in Mankato as well, where the teachers from the different buildings choose artwork for the other buildings that go. So it removes our own biases from that as well. So students choose their own artworks, but especially at this age, if I see something that's just really impressive, I might try to encourage that student, hey, we have this art show, this would look really great hung up, your family can come see it, it might go to Mankato, and it just gets them really excited about that. So kindergarten and first grade, just at its core, is exploration, figuring out who they are creatively, and getting into as many different materials as possible. So you can see here, kindergarten class. This is one of our collage tables, cutting and tearing paper. We have drawing going on back here. Painting goes on at this table over here. It's a lot of fun stuff. I've got some more pictures. So all this is happening at once. We start with drawing in the fall, and they show me that they can handle crayons, colored pencils, and markers, and then things just open, and they become choices, and we talk about how to make those choices, how to clean up, how to take care, and it's just incredible, the choices that they make, what they do. Some of them are always painting every single day possible, and some of them are always drawing, but that's how it is in the real world as artists. We choose our materials, we choose our specialty, and sometimes we'll branch out and try something new, but just as long as they're exposed to that and get a chance, like, hey, you don't have to do this, but you can, is a really powerful thing for these kiddos, I think. So these are our centers that are open: drawing, collage, painting, architecture, and cardboard. We just got cardboard open in the last 2 weeks, and the kiddos are loving it. They're making houses, they're making barns, they're making cars, they're painting them. It's super cool. And then we do clay as well at this age too, but it's more in small groups and a little more guided at that point too. And I do still make everyone do clay because I want them to try that experience too. So yeah. Oh. So again, more centers open, our painting table, here's the cardboard open. Again, all this is all at once, all at the same time. I release the kiddos come and meet me on the carpet. I talk with them about our day. I might give them our mini lesson or talk about what we're doing. And then I call them one by one and they tell me where they're gonna go. And then they go. At this age, I make them clean up their area and then either raise their hand or come over and ask me if they can move. And I check to see if their spot's cleaned and then they can go. So very independent learners going on in this space. As we move into second and third grade then, it's very similar, only rather than tables being set up with the different centers, the centers are located around the classroom in hubs, and the students can go to those hubs and grab those supplies and set up their own working space. So that is the really, really big change between kindergarten, first grade, and second and third, is that they set up their own workspace and they are in charge of that workspace. More mini lessons, but focused on slightly more higher level concepts, I guess, with art. And we continue talking about our own art, but we also then delve into how can we talk about other people's artwork as well. So you know how to talk about yours, but how can you ask questions about other people's artwork? How can you see meaning in other people's artwork? This person drew a picture of a barn. Why do you think they might have drawn that? Do they live on a farm? Do they have a family member on a farm? Have they been to a farm? Are they going to one this weekend? You know, just thinking about those types of questions as well. And at this age too, they independently choose their artworks for the art show. I still might try to persuade a little bit here and there, but I really focus on, this is your artwork, what are you proud of, what do you want to display and show the community. Some more here.
Okay.
Yeah, he is so proud. Oh. And then this one too, the watercolor piece here, that is 2 kiddos working on that at once. And they will do that. They will form groups. I've had groups as big as 5 or 6 kiddos working on the same project, and it's fun to watch them delegate and communicate and collaborate and choose their materials and figure out who's going to do what and how they're going to come to the end of this process. And you know, sometimes we fail, and that's okay. Sometimes someone is mad at someone else, and so they leave the group, and that's okay. We just talk through those things within the space. Another one, what I really like about this example here is that I just opened up technology. So talking about how to use our technology as reference and how you can, we only have this certain amount here, We do 2 to 3 kids per device. So they all work together to decide that they wanted to paint a sunset on an ocean. So they looked that up and they're all working on painting that right now. So that was a really fabulous day to just watch them choose that and try that for themselves. Same centers, only now they get fibers. Clay is a choice that I'm working down into 2nd and 3rd grade. I've never done choice clay 2nd and 3rd grade. I just opened it for 2nd grade, or for 3rd grade in the last 2 weeks. And they love it. They are silent and they are working, and I'm like, go for it. But yeah, we also get fibers then too, where we interweave weaving. I've got some sewing supplies and fun things like that. And then yeah, that technology has opened up for them too. So being able to use that to look up school appropriate things to look at, YouTube videos to follow along with, and so on and so forth. More from this last week. 4th and 5th grade, again, still 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. I kind of clump them together in that regard. So still setting up their own spaces based upon the centers around the room. Even more advanced artistic skills, like talking about composition. How do you plan for an artwork? What can that look like? Maybe thinking about, hey, I see that you're constantly drawing these vehicles. Did you know that that's a theme? Where can we go with this theme? Just in general, where they can find ideas and things like that, because it's typically about the 6th grade level where they start getting really self-conscious and they don't know where to get those ideas from anymore. It's very developmentally appropriate, so we just kind of reinforce those skills at that point. We get into the studio habits of mind, which I've got a slide for next, which basically they describe artistic intentions and why we create and sort of that creationary process. And then students create a WOW project as well, which stands for Wonderful Original Work of Art. And that WOW project is what goes to the art show in the spring. And so the students design the project, they write up a proposal for me, and we share that proposal, and I might help them tweak or think a little bit more from there, but they turn out really awesome. So this is just the studio habits of mind then. We spend a lot of time stretching and exploring, which is practicing new concepts, practicing new ideas. We talk about expressing, which is taking ideas that they're interested in and making artworks about that. Developing their craft is practicing their skills that they feel they're already good at or they want to learn more about. Envisioning, creating, how are you going to take your idea from your brain? What's your plan of action, and so forth. Connecting then to the artistic communities, whether in our own area or artists who throughout history or who are currently living. Observing, so again, using that technology, I have toys that they can look at and they can observe and see the details and draw it and so forth. Engage and persist, continuing with the same concept over and over again and reflecting on what they do well. So this is a lot. We work on these throughout the year. And so forth. More ideas, more things. Clay just opened, so Clay's been very exciting for them. Got a dog here, really cool monster. This one over here ended up being a ring holder. She said that her mom had just recently gotten married, and so she wanted to make a ring holder for her. Yeah, so, those things come into the classroom. They're things that are happening in their lives. We've got a big collaborative piece that's going on here, again, using that technology to find reference. Same centers as 2nd and 3rd grade. A lot of great stuff. So yeah, again, all open at the same time. They're making those choices. We don't start with all these at the beginning of the year. They earn these as they work. She made a stack of, this was a birthday cake for her dad's 43rd birthday. Yeah. This one, I had to ask her, I was like, can I take your picture? And she just looks up at me, goes like this, and went right back to work. And I was like, okay, yeah, we can do that. So 7th and 8th grade, these guys have had me since, these are 7th graders. They've had me since they were in 5th grade. They know the tab philosophy, but I'm still working on trying to get that up into 7th and 8th grade and kind of wrap my brain around it a little bit. especially with only seeing them for one quarter. So the first half is a little more structured curriculum, but still with as much choice as I can kind of throw in there. We focus on the elements of art and principles of design, which are very core concepts within art making and have been for a very long time. And then we also look at various artists and artworks through some general history that's associated with those. We get to clay at mid-quarter, and those are 100% choice-based. So I say, here are some parameters for your clay project. They have to be 6 inches or bigger, have 3 different textures, use at least 3 of our clay making methods that we talk about, and then whatever you want to make, if it's school appropriate. And then they end with a wow project as well. So I had to include this one because Kendall in here made this box person in 5th grade. And then last year made this box person in 6th grade and this box person in 6th grade, and then these 2 are new for 7th grade. So she's really engaging and persisting in this idea, and there's this big, long, complicated story with them that she told me like 4 times, and I just love it. It just keeps expanding further and further. So we'll see what she does in 8th grade then with me. What I really like about this is that it shows that students of all levels and all abilities can really exceed in this type of classroom because they're making based upon their skills. And then, I push a little bit here and there based upon what they can do, but it's not the traditional art making style where I'm coming up with a project as an adult artist who has had many more years of work than they have, and then asking them to replicate that. That's very much going by the wayside in the visual arts. So, my Wyatt here is one of my core factors for why I'm so happy that I moved to that, because I don't know if he would have flourished as much as he has in the last 3 years with me. And yeah. So here's some more. This is a baby. Yeah, she looked up images of what babies look like, and I think she studied them for like a good class period, and then she got the clay out and just went to it. So,
Nice.
Yeah, it's fantastic what these guys can do. This is another student of mine who I like to show off too. He struggled. He actually kind of freezes a little bit with choice, but I've been pushing him and he's flourished, and he started with just, well, I don't know how to draw, and I'm like, everyone knows how to draw. You can pick up a utensil. You have hands that work. And I was like, let's just draw lines. So 5th grade, he drew lines, and he drew lines, and he drew lines in different colors. In 6th grade, it was, okay, how can we take those lines and colors and show different emotions with those? When you think of happy, what colors do you associate with those with? So he did that in 6th grade. In 7th grade, then he did some abstract ones about the people that were in his life. When you think of this person, what colors and lines and shapes do you think of? And then this year, he surprised me with line, shapes, and colors, where he meticulously cut out all the lines that made up these shapes. So this is a cutout, this is a cutout, this is a cutout, this is a cutout, and they're going in and in and in and in, and I'm like, yeah, you're fabulous. Yep, and then here's just some more. Ugh. I could talk forever about our kiddos, by the way, if you can't tell, and just about how fabulous they are at creating and the things that they do. This is a giant fish. It's 3D. You can stick your hands and your arms actually in its mouth. Yeah. So these two have been doing a lot of Minnesota artworks. Last year they did a clay Minnesota stencil, and then they did little 3D things to represent different things that our state was famous for around the state. So they showed a star for where Montgomery is, and they did, I believe they did US Bank Stadium for Minneapolis, and then they did the Boundary Waters, and they did something else for Duluth. So they're really exploring their love of Minnesota and everything we have to offer. And so this year it was fish. But yeah, so TAB's been going really well, and the kids are flourishing, and they're doing so well with choice, and I see so little paralyzation anymore. They just come in and they're like, Miss M, when are you going to be done talking so I can get to work? Okay, can you give me 2 more minutes and then you can get to work? So they're great.
it's great coming into the classrooms and seeing these kids just so engaged in art. And I remember decades ago when I was in art and we had to make this wonderful project that the art teacher had, and you're just like, somebody who can't draw a straight line with a ruler, I would really be able to excel with the choice and being able to do the things that I like. And some of these kids are just thinking about how they're going to, what they're going to do the next time they come to art, how they're going to add to what they're making or draw something new that they saw and collaborated with somebody else. And the talking about what they're doing, it's so much fun to go in there, and they are all engaged. I mean, every single one of them just loves what they're doing and can talk to you about what it is they're making. And it's just really incredible to see how they just flourish. Like she said, it's even the big kids, they're so into what they're making and creating, and it's really neat to see that.
So come visit. Come visit.
I was just going to say, by exploring them to the different opportunities once they get into the high school level, when there's different specialized classes, pottery or the drawing, then they can really dive deep into what their interests are. So it's really neat to see.
Yep, that was the idea, was that K6 was, let's get you exposed to as much as possible in 7th and 8th grade. Let's start honing a little bit, and then at the high school they can really choose and hone in on skills. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you for letting us share
Yes,
these wonderful
thank you.
things with you. We're really proud of our students and their artistic abilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very much.
Amanda, thank you and our art department for the hard work you did during the curriculum review a couple of years ago and exploring this possibility that fits so well with our mission of empowering our learners. So thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have our enrollment update. Oh.
Well, our enrollment update is pretty straightforward and has held steady from last month, which is a good thing. You'll see that we grew at our elementary and had 5 students in this last month. I think if you recall back in January, I told you that was we were seeing some movement happening around that after the winter break. And we have some families who have moved in at that point, and we unfortunately had some families who moved out as well. So gained in the K6 realm, and then at the 7-8 dropped a little bit as well. So still holding at that 18-19.
All right. Next, we'll move on to our committee updates. First, we have Southwest Metro.
The Southwest Metro met on January 21st, and of course it was their organizational meeting as well, as far as electing our chairman, vice chair, clerk, treasurer, those type of things, and then the committees. One of the things that I probably should have been reporting on is what's cool in our school. Freedom Academy is one of the things that Southwest Metro works very, very closely with. And Freedom Academy is one that is kind of a completely unique concept in the fact that it is animal therapy and it is horse therapy. And so a individual contacted Southwest Metro a few years ago, and they have a riding stable. The kids go there and ride, and they have 18 students in that particular program. The other thing that once again, it is just amazing how Southwest Metro, all of their programs continue to increase in numbers. Used very, very much. Once again, TCU is a vital part of that. One of the things that also came out of that meeting is because we are an intermediate school district, we can look, and they have talked to MSBA, Terry Morrill specifically, And we will not be naming an official newspaper. It will be down on the website. And all of the notes and information from our meetings will be put there forth as well. The other thing, as far as the big business item, Bloomington School District has asked to join the Southwest Metro as an associate member. This would be the same thing as like what Waseca, New Richland, JWP, and I'm missing one, Waterville. And same type of things where they will be a 2-year membership. They still will be a member of the another intermediate program. They're just very frankly testing the waters of Southwest Metro and seeing if we can provide more services than what they're presently getting. So once again, they will be an associate members. How does that affect us? Well, very frankly, it helps us reduce the cost that we have to pay towards Southwest Metro. And then the last one, and I did talk to Superintendent Preisler about this, the idea of coming up with a new student medication policy. This is one that is being directed by MSBA, and very frankly, the drug that is being introduced is Narcan, and to help with students who may be overdosing. And Superintendent Preisler is telling us that she's already working on it with our nursing staff and trying to make a decision. A lot of training has to go along with that, so on and so forth. And with anything, a concern always comes up is liability issues.
Just a couple of things, as we all know, within Southwest Metro, as Dale said, is an intermediate district. It is a form of a public school, but it's an intermediate district. And the fact within the statutes on official newspaper, intermediate districts are not held to that. And the reason being is they don't necessarily have a community. In our case, we are, what, Dale, 10 communities? And so an official, 11 official newspaper would be a little odd. So that is one aspect. So I just want to clarify, because that was something that, as we talked before on some resolutions and such as this district, felt strongly that we needed to continue on with that. So thank you for that, Dale.
All right, Q-Comp. We had our meeting back in January, and we talked about our all-staff development, which was on the 21st of January, which we've touched base here at the board meeting. They had collaborative morning where they were all together talking about curriculum. They had the speaker that afternoon. Again, on January 21st, or January 25th, the leaders, coaches, and trainers. It was a training, was inter-rater reliability, which they touched base on the portfolio artifacts that the teachers are doing and reflecting, and which is coaching conversations that they're doing at that. There was some positions that were open. Again, they're in, I believe it was coaches' positions. Mm-hmm. They're 3-year positions, so once you're serving your 3 years, you can either stay on or you go off. And then they, there were 6 coaching positions and 1 leader position as we move forward. Posting will probably be done in the spring with the staff on that. Again, we updated tonight is conferences, which we all know, and K6 did not participate, will not participate in tomorrow's 2-hour early out because they had conferences tonight. The rest will be site-based. Budget, we're really right on track. Our next meeting is the 19th, and we also discussed on June 9th in Waseca, we have an all means all summit, which the staff has the ability to go to it's a 1-day training kind of a thing, what they can go and do.
Will you tell me about that 6th grade thing again? What they're not doing the early out because why?
K6 in
Teachers.
October and February have parent-teacher conferences
The
during that
teachers,
time.
yep, got it.
And then the offset of that is a half day
It's like-
of professional development in the January time. So
That makes sense.
their overall hours of PD are the same, it just gets clumped in differently.
Got it. Thought you meant students.
That's it.
Finance
Oh, you have
Committee
finance,
met. Talked about what contracts we have coming up in the next year. Not a teacher contract here, but basically everybody else is in a contract here is up for renewal. Vendor contracts, we'll be reviewing the Tahoe contract as well as our printer copier contracts. That's kind of it, right? Did I miss anything?
That it? Well, it's budget time also. So.
Still working through
Yeah.
that.
Wellness Committee.
We just had our meeting today, and Josh and I attended with Amanda, the nurse, and with the Taher. Her name always escapes me.
Amy.
Amy, thank you. And so we had a nice meeting with them with some good food. Just hit on the highlights here. The Department of Health visited, and there were no violations, which is a good thing, and they visit twice a year. Some program highlights is there is a partnership with General Mills where they pilot some of their new or upcoming items. So like soft taco bowls, different flavored yogurts, things like that. And our school is open and willing to try those. So it's a nice partnership in that way. They are taking surveys with students, which I think is great to hear that they're valuing their input. So we get to see some of those results of what kids enjoy, what they'd like to have more of. Very respectful and positive comments, which I was very proud of them for offering that feedback. Mark your calendars for the first week in March. For the kiddos, they get free samples of breakfast March 2nd through March 5th at school. They're trying out some different school breakfast things. Another piece to the Taher, or the kitchen area, is they're looking into replacing a cooler and freezer unit that's like 40 years old. So they applied for a grant and they're waiting to have the results on that. So they are making it by with those Department of Health inspections, but it's something that they desperately need. So
It's not quite 40 years old. It was built in the 80s.
So then she said 40. Well, are you trying to say don't push it, right? Okay, so okay, I like 30 years old, right? Thank you for keeping me honest, Josh.
I'm just saying. I was born in the 80s.
This is becoming about you. And then also June 1st is when summer meals will start up. So anybody that needs meals during the summer, June 1st is that date. Moving into health services, Amanda is busy keeping all of the sites in order with immunizations and any care planning that students need. She is looking into infection control plan for the coronavirus, and that is not something that is currently out there, so she is having to kind of take bits and pieces from all things. So very impressed that she's taking that upon herself and using some resources from neighboring communities. Also, another update, which is good to know, is that next year it is a Department of Health requirement for seniors to get their meningitis booster. It used to be when they went to college, but now it is a year before college, or 18. So that will be coming out, I'm assuming, next year with back to school stuff. So just keep that in mind. All in all, good meeting.
Oh, good deal. Thank you.
Those are great reports, everybody.
Yeah, nice job.
Did you want an insurance report there? On my agenda, it shows insurance.
Did they meet?
Oh, yes, it does.
Why?
It shows
Oh,
right
I
there.
clicked it off. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Gene was there, Brian, Superintendent Preisler, if there's things that you would like to add to this. We met on January 14th. The different groups have been surveyed and very good response coming back. We are also trying to increase the committee membership. When we say that, having the parents getting more involved and secretaries, so on and so forth. Went through different plans and started to look at possible costs. Like with anything else, when it comes to insurance, things are continuing always to increase. Timeline for renewal will be mid-March, and one has to remember that this is kind of a unique situation in the fact that all of the different union groups have to approve any changes that would happen as far as the type of insurance, the type of offerings. If one group does not approve, then we go back and stay with what we have as well. I think a couple of things that has always kind of come out of this committee, Paul Peterson, Randy Hunt, Jan Dahl, they help us guide through this. Janet Dahl, by the way, is from Southwest Co-op. Help us guide us through this process. And Paul and Randy and Darren of House of Insurance, they are willing to meet with the individuals to help them choose what might be the best insurance policy for them. As a board member, I cannot vote. That's something that's done through the negotiations process. So you're there more as a listening person type of a perspective, and to report back to you. Also, Jean is telling us that she's going to have a little bit more information on the Cadillac tax update coming up. Our next meeting is March 25th. I think lastly, after the meeting was over, Paul and Randy talked to me about Jean, Maggie, Kayla, and how they have really helped this insurance process go and make it much better for the employees of Tri-City United.
Good job. All right, thank you. Next we'll move on to new business. And our first on the docket is to discuss and decide the superintendent search timeline, the stakeholder involvement, and the procedures. So I'll seek a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so now we have a motion made. So three things that, as you can see, Barbara's not here tonight. So she had some mom duties that she wanted to really take part of tonight. So she was very confident in us being where we were at our first informational meeting. And basically we have three things that we need to take care of tonight as far as approving. And one being the timeline. The second would be the salary range, or what we want to do in the brochure that's going with the job posting, and then also the community listening sessions. So I guess we'll start with the community listening sessions, and I know it was kind of a strong voice that we should be having it in each community. And with that, if we have it all in each community, it'd be an extra $500, as what I had let everyone know that before. And in conversations, thinking the 18th and 19th is what was on the timeline. That might not be enough time to get the word out there for our community members to really take part in those sessions. So we're kind of looking at maybe pushing it back to like February 24th. With that, the MSBA is able to, that night, do all three listening sessions if that's the route that we wanted to go. So I guess we'll just kind of leave it up for conversation and what everyone would like to do.
Now remind me, is the 500 is for having MSBA at each site, not the Skype option?
Yep.
Okay.
Because what's included in the package is just one meeting. Since we are unique where we have three different communities, the involvement there.
Sure.
So would they run concurrently, like all at the same time? We'd have three meetings?
Yep, same time, different places, same questions, yep.
I've had a conversation with a few of the people of Lee Center as far as, this being an option. And I think as a concern of the 5, 6 different people that I discussed with is the attendance. You know, will they, you know, truly attend? And thus the idea of, you know, when I was having the discussion with them, you know, the possibility of a cost of upward of $500, you know, would it be money well spent? I guess that was you know, and
I'm kind of with you on that. I worry about attendance and the cost for who may come or may not, but then I think about how that would appear and the fact that we would be offering that. It might be a small price to pay for giving that opportunity. That's kind of how I reasoned it out in my head, of wanting everyone in the community in our communities to have that chance. And if you think about $500 in the larger picture, I think that's not that large, in my opinion. That's not that large when you're looking at what that can mean for morale of our district in total. But I do worry about attendance, so I'm kind of interested in hearing what others have to say on that.
I have the same thought. I'm leaning more towards, I think we should do it for we have three we have 3 separate communities, and so to offer it in all 3, I think there's value in that opportunity if people take it. Of course, attendance with anything is a concern, but if those that are from our community that are vested in this process, because our superintendent impacts our communities too. And so it's their opportunity to come, and the easier we can make it for community members to come, I think we have, in my opinion, we have to give that as an option. So that's, I'm with you.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think in the grand scheme of things, $500 is probably not that much money for and just know we may have one person in the 2 outskirts. We may have one person in all 3. I mean, we can advertise, we can talk about it, we can do everything, but
valuable though too. You know,
I think making sure we're making it available in all 3 communities is just important.
And you could think of it in the way of, if we provide it for the 3 different communities on that one evening, and the people, our community, know that we're offering that, that might bring them more into when everything is being held here in Montgomery. So it might be more of a buy-in in that respect, saying that we're giving them opportunity to take part in their own community, but then when it comes time for the interviews and the other listening, you know, community session that we're having with the candidate, that they may be more apt to coming in and doing that also. So you can think of it that way.
Valid.
Yeah.
I do too.
I mean, I also think too, sometimes we focus on those that don't come,
Right.
And the value in those that actually show up is probably worth that too.
In pushing it back, it gives us more of an opportunity to really go out there and make sure that we give it its due diligence.
Just that people know.
Yep. And advertise,
Right. You just need to
advertise, but put the word out there.
Right.
So.
is it also our duty to set a time on when these will be?
I would probably say around the 6 o'clock time is kind of pretty much a go-to time. 6, 7 o'clock. I don't know if we push it back too far.
No, I'd say 6.
So, if I'm hearing things correctly, are we all okay with February 24th doing 3 listening sessions at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Are we all okay with that?
For myself.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
And Barb did say too that the 24th works perfectly for them. On the 25th, I know was another date we kind of might have put out there, but they have more listening sessions that evening with other communities, so this way we're set and we're good to go. Yep.
And just to be clear for the camera too, they facilitate and run, the board will not be there, so it's...
Well, we have a work session that night, so we will be here.
Well, but
Yep.
we aren't going to be attending or running. That is strictly for the community to voice their concerns
Absolutely.
and their desires.
Perfect.
Good.
All right. Now, number 2, salary. She had just kind of sent me an email just to revisit our options in the salary, in our vacancy brochure, which you all have in front of you. That was one thing that we did not decide at our work session. There's 4 ways to do this. One is stating a competitive compensation package with a salary range of X to X. And this will be negotiated as at the end. B, a competitive compensation package with a minimum salary of such and such amount and or a current superintendent salary base for the 1920 school year is this X dollar amount, or a very general saying that the package can be negotiated upon hiring. With some of these options in the conversations that I was having with Barb prior to this evening, if we do a salary range, we have to make sure that we put a broader range in that. She goes, you have to compensate for those who would meet like a first-year superintendent coming in compared to a superintendent who does have the experience behind them. And if we do that range, she said it's good to do a $40,000 to $50,000 range from A to B, but then we're tied to that range. So we would not be able to negotiate outside of that range. With stating a minimum salary of, we're putting a dollar amount out there, but at a minimum salary. And saying that this is the current superintendent's salary, we're saying what it is. This is where our superintendent is right now, and this is where we're at. And it's salary, it's not benefits, it's just strictly salary, or the broader range. In looking at some other things online, there's Hastings does have a minimum salary of a dollar amount. Mora has a current salary listed. St. Peter also has a current salary listed. Warren does have a range. Waseca and Farmington did the generalization of that, the benefit, or it would be negotiated at the end. So there's kind of a range out there of what's currently open. I guess I know what we talked about the other night is doing a range. I really hate to see us be set in something, knowing that, or to have people not apply for the position because it wouldn't be within the range that they wanted.
Do you think that if we went with the open salary to be negotiated, that anybody that's going to apply would probably do a search and see what we're currently
Probably.
Paying? I mean, to kind of get an idea?
If they do their homework, yeah, my guess would be yes. I guess the more I've thought about it, and in talking with Barb, I think we just list what our current superintendent salary is. Then they know. I mean, if that's kind of what they're doing around what, then they know right away when they go out there and look. That's the first thing that they're going to look for. I don't know. I guess that's my opinion. But, you know, as far as this is always open for discussion on what we can come together as a team here.
See, I would challenge that a bit, because when we had done kind of our exercise, we really seem to be looking for those qualities regardless of first year to 25 year, right? And so I think that, I mean, people could do their homework and see what Terry has done and how long she's been here. I just don't want to set a precedence that, okay, it's going to be around this amount, when it might not be if we get somebody with less experience and then they come in thinking, ooh, maybe I'll get... I feel like there's more room for interpretation when you do that. I feel like a range, at least, you know, it's less negotiating too for us, and I think we need to know too what our budget can handle in that, because if you say here's minimum, and that leaves sky's the limit, and then we have to be the ones to tailor that back down. Again, just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I like the range idea, and the minimum, maybe. But I'm open for discussion too.
Yeah, I kind of, after, when we talked about it last time, I guess at that point, had the way she explained it, and now hearing again, I still kind of feel like a range works for me.
Okay.
That was kind of consensus last time.
And you're
We
right,
talked about range.
absolutely.
We had
Yep.
made that consensus. That-
I'm sorry, Michelle, excuse me.
I guess I'm done. I was just gonna say, I guess I feel more towards a range.
When it comes to the range, she recommends a 40,000. Do we have to stick to that type of a wide range?
Well, I think if you're going to do the range, she said the bigger, the more, because then if, say you start at 135 and you go to 165 or 175, then you're gearing towards those people who would be applying that would have that experience coming into it, so that you're not going outside of your range to negotiate. So when you get down to the end and they say, well, I want XYZ, and we're like, well, this is what our range is. If we go outside of that range, but it's kind of egg on our face as a board with not only the people who applied, for the job, that she just said, just make sure that you are giving yourselves enough cushion when you do the range.
I think that's fair.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
I like the range option too, just because it gives us then what our top would be, what our budget can handle. I would hate to mislead anybody that, we can go over that. I think that it's more straightforward.
I'll only say we will not have enough budget work done to really be able to give you an exact ceiling number on that, in all fairness to the work that Jean needs to do with the work we did on our revised budget. So I want to be upfront about that for
But
you.
we kind of have an idea
Yeah.
of what's our budget in total, right? I mean, we know what's to be coming, and that kind of gives us an idea of to be fiscally responsible and to not say, sure, $300,000. I mean, we have an idea of where we sit today. I think we all kind of have a gut feeling on that.
Well, and if we're just looking at
Yeah, comps.
the comps that we have in front of us, I feel pretty confident we could come up with a range. Are we throwing numbers out now, or?
Yeah,
Go for it.
I'm thinking maybe 130 to 160. That's 30.
I was thinking like 110 to 150, or maybe 120 to.
Well,
I mean, all in that
I had 120 to
They're all written
150. I know, I wrote a few down.
And yeah, I
Maybe
changed
120 to
mine.
160, that's 40.
I think we need to go higher as far as the minimum goes.
As far as the minimum?
We got to start at least 130, 135.
So you're thinking 130 to 160? Only a 30 range, or
I'd
what?
push it
I
40.
go to I guess when I was just thinking about it as it was thrown out there, I thought 135 to 180 is what popped in my brain.
Really?
But I
Still
think
that
would-
high? That high?
that's
I'm sorry to
high.
That would
interrupt.
give you it would give you good negotiating room. It doesn't have to be that top. But I think that would be looking at the comparables here and what we know about current salary, that would make us more desirable. I mean, I know we're a desirable community already, but I think that would, yeah, that's my thing. But I'm just one.
I'll just give you a little history. When you hired me 7 years ago, and there were other superintendent openings in the area, as you may recall or maybe not. My first salary was $126,000. And the other position openings that were in the area at that time, obviously Jordan, this came open. You had New Prague, you had Waseca, New Ulm, and St. Peter was a 1 year into it. St. Peter hired someone who had not been a superintendent before. And I was hired, and not having been a superintendent before, and Waseca hired someone who had not been a superintendent before. And so at that time, the 126 of those comparables, now realizing that some of them really aren't our comparable, like
Right.
New Prague, so
Sure.
throw that one out.
Yeah.
The rest, though, are kind of still in here. The 126 was the lowest of those being hired. So I'm just
Okay.
putting that out there as some history for you to know where those realms are.
Yeah. Okay.
And, you know, I'm sure that Marcia has shared with you all within the comparables we have here is, you know, my salary's around $140,000. I'll be right up front though. I have, in some of the aspects of my negotiations, has been more about 403B types of contributions as compared with others, which that is a cost savings to the district, you know, the taxes and everything else on there. But, you know, once you're in there, that's some of those things shift. So anyway, just maybe if that helps with any kind of
It does.
perspective.
Thank you.
All right, how would anyone feel about 140 to 170?
I agree, I think the 130 is too low to
You
start.
do? Okay.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. I got the
I
feeling
was
on
at
that.
110. So.
I know, I started at 120. so-
Okay. 140 is what we're thinking.
When you said the 110, I had to gulp a bit.
I'm glad you put some context around
Yeah,
it, though.
right. And we don't want to turn people off.
No.
So you said 140 to 170, Michelle?
I think that's what I just
Okay.
said, yes.
Yeah.
I think you open it up 10 more, 140, 180.
Okay.
And
It just 180 is like, ugh.
It's not necessarily mean that it has to happen that way, but I really think that we need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I know.
I would go right along with the 140 to 180.
I mean, because you look at other comps and no one is even near 180. So that just, and then I think of the budget and I think about, I mean, again, I know that's not like a given, right? Like, we're
Yeah.
not saying, yep, that's what we're hiring you for, but, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jean's still sitting in her chair, she didn't fall off, so.
And Jean hasn't passed out yet, so we're good.
Well, she's good at hiding it though.
I know, I can't really see her whole body there, so I don't know.
Well, the only other thing too is I think taking into the range that MSBA, the cushion that they suggested, I mean, it's been a true association for us. They've had really good experience
Right, yeah.
with this, and if they are, I mean, we're still at the 40,000, I mean, don't, go up to the 50, but if give us a cushion, I think that makes sense to follow that.
Okay, so one more thought. If Terry is already at 140, are we going to start a superintendent out where she's leaving? Or do we go down to 135 as being a first-year superintendent coming in?
That was kind of my thought, being that Terry's leaving at one point, how do you, I mean,
So maybe we start at 135 and then go to 175. All right?
I can live with that.
Sure.
Nice, I like that. If anyone knows what we do.
That's what we just did, right?
We did. So 135 to 175, are we all okay with that?
yes.
Josh?
Yeah.
Dale?
My concern is our budget. I mean,
No?
and that has to be a major concern. I look at salaries that we are talking about. I look at our communities, and as a board, how are they going to perceive us as board members? When we are saying that we're, close to deficit spending, I think this is something that we all need to be concerned about. I have no problem with the 135 to 175. I just look at our total cost in our budget.
And I think we all move forward with that same, I think we all will and should.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, it's all the response of the ugh, right? Remember, like I understand. I think once we see our candidate pool too and who we're working with, it'll feel better and it'll be easier to support that number. But no, I'm with you. But I think I like the 135 to 175.
And just to pass along what she had told me, she was very impressed with our preparedness and everything that we did in our first meeting. She said it was very smoothly. She goes, you guys were very prepared in everything that we had, and she said it was really nice working with us. So those are just some good thoughts to pass on. She did give me an update. We've had 87 responses to our online superintendent survey. 1 community member, 42 parents, 42 staff, 1 student, and 1 other. So we're doing really, really well there. I think that should do it. So then, as far as what needed to happen tonight, the community listening session will affect our timeline, but it does not affect what we're doing as far as anything goes. And the salary range will go into the hiring brochure. And so that means that we can also approve our timeline. So nothing else has to change on there except for the date of the community listening sessions.
Sessions or sessions?
Sessions, because we said 3 listening sessions.
Oh, but one day.
One day.
One day, same time, 3 different locations.
Yep.
Okay. And the locations, we can figure that out as
Yeah, I would
time,
say
yeah.
Performing Arts Center and Lonsdale Media Center and
Sure.
Los Center Media Center.
Okay.
I do just want to put out here, I mean, it's probably awkward talking salary stuff as I'm sitting here, but if you really want to just put my salary on there as 2 neighboring districts have done, I'm okay with that. So not that you even need to care what I'm okay with, but I just want that out there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still like the range though. I mean, I appreciate that you don't care if we put that out there, but.
Well, I respect that you need to
Yeah.
do what you feel is best.
I don't think it's a good representation of a salary for somebody searching, new, right? I just think that, that's my opinion.
Because if it starts lower, I mean, you'd hate, you know, I don't know. I still like the range, but thank you for that.
All right, we have a motion on the table by Ashley Recevo, second by Michelle Borchert, to approve, discuss, and decide the superintendent search timelines, stakeholder involvement, and procedures. And we approve the timeline, the salary range, and our community listen sessions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is passed, 7-0. Next, we have a resolution.
That the school board of Independent School District number 2905 accept with appreciation the gifts/donations and permit their use as designated by the donors.
We have, at this last month, we've had 3 donations. One was from Bright Schools Project, and it is for a flat panel display. I believe that this was, someone signed up for something somewhere, and it cannot go to the individual, and so it must go to the school district. Carl's probably at parent-teacher conferences. So.
Very cool.
Next one is Pizzeria, donation of $100 for robotics, and Mike and Deb Malowski of $1,500 towards the middle school robotics club. So we certainly accept these with graciousness and great thanks.
All right, I do have a motion by Krista Gettle. I'll need a second.
Second.
This is a resolution, so this will be roll call vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Dale?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Krista?
Yes.
And Marcia is a yes. Resolution has passed by 7-0 vote. We have another resolution.
That the school board hereby directs the superintendent of schools and the administration to consider the reduction and/or discontinuance of programs or positions to accomplish economies in the school district as a result of reductions in enrollment and/or funding, and to make recommendations to the school board for the discontinuance of programs, curtailment of programs, discontinuance of positions, or curtailment of positions.
So again, this is an annual resolution. This does not, as we've said numerous times this evening, we are still in the revised budgeting process, but this resolution does need to occur on an annual basis. And I think the key one really is that first paragraph, even though that doesn't get said at the end, is that whereas financial condition may require reallocation. And sometimes what that simply means is tonight with registration, we have more students who sign up for a certain course or department's courses versus another, and then that just means we need to reallocate and offer the courses that our students are registering for, that types of things. So it's in the process. This is just a part of the process. It does not have an indication of what needs to happen for next year.
I'll second.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. All right, again, this is a roll call vote. Kevin?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yep.
Dale?
Yes.
Josh?
Yes.
Krista?
Yes.
And Marcia is a yes. A roll call vote is passed, 7-0 resolution. Next, I will seek a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Was that Ashley or Michelle?
Michelle.
Motion by Krista Gettle, second by Michelle Borchert to adjourn the meeting at 7:34 PM. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion has passed 7-0.